Welcome to the MNCPPC Department of Parks and Recreation's Virtual Healthy Holiday Nutrition Series. Whether you are here for a workshop or a cooking demonstration, get ready to experience a fun, interactive, and educational session. This evening, you will get nutritional tools and cooking tips for you and your family on how to enjoy the holiday season while maintaining your wellness goals. Welcome.
Again, welcome and thank you for joining us for our Healthy Holiday Nutrition Series. My name is Victoria Alexander, and I'm a Health and Wellness Assistant with the Department of Parks and Recreation. Before we begin, let's go over a few housekeeping items. You should see a microphone icon at the bottom of your screen, like you see here on this screen. You will need to click this icon to mute yourself. We would ask that you remain muted to limit any distractions during the program. Next, I want to draw your attention to the camera icon. You will use this to turn your camera off and on. Please be mindful that when your camera is on, all participants joining us this evening will be able to see you. You have the option to keep your camera on or turn it off. Remember, we want to minimize distractions throughout the program and keep the focus on the presentation being provided. Next, I would like to show you how to pin a participant. To do this, you will need to click the Show Participants icon. In the Participants column, select the individual you want to view on your screen, then click or tap the three dots icon to reveal a menu. From the drop-down menu, select Pin for Me. The pinned participant becomes the focus in your view and only your view, regardless of the speaker. To unpin, repeat these 3 steps and select Unpin. Repeat the same process to pin an additional participant. Please note, if you are in a web browser, the PowerPoint presentation will be in a small window at the top or bottom of your screen. Next, you can now turn on live captions during the meeting. To do this, you will click on the 3 dots for more options. Then you can scroll down and find the option that says Turn on Live Captions. Then you will start to see captions at the bottom of your screen. You may choose to turn this feature on if needed. Next slide. The last icon I want to tell you about is the chat icon. This will allow you to ask questions throughout the program. To type a question, you will just click on the icon like the one you see on the screen to bring up the chat box, and it should take you to what you will see next. Next slide. Once you see the chat box, as you see on the screen there will be a space for you to type your question in. Hit enter and we will see your question on the screen. Please ask your questions throughout the program, and then there will be time at the end to answer your questions. We're looking forward to a great discussion. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our trained professional for the evening. Next slide. Elena Gore is a registered dietitian and licensed dietitian nutritionist with a certificate in training in adult and pediatric weight management. She received her BA in anthropology, BS in biology, and Master of Public Health Nutrition from the University of North Carolina. She worked as a clinical dietitian for 5 years and currently serves the DMV as a nutrition specialist for Giant Food. She believes nutrition is about balance, not perfection. Elena helps to inspire others to make every eating experience an adventure in making healthful choices and trying something new. Welcome, Elena.
Hello, thank you all for having me today. I am going to go ahead and just introduce my presentation because it's called Fry Baby Fry. So this is going to be all about an air fryer and how to use it. So I know I get a lot of questions about this, and I will preface this that this is one of my favorite tools to use in the kitchen. And we'll go over a little bit why, but we are here to talk about what is an air fryer. So for those of you who may not know, an air fryer is a countertop convection oven. So if you've received one as a gift and didn't really know how to use it or didn't really know the difference as to what was happening, essentially, like a conventional oven, it's heated up, but instead of it all coming, or instead of a big oven where it just kind of sits in the middle, there's a circulation of hot air constantly going through the food that you put into the basket or into the oven, and we'll get into that on the next slide. So this constant air is creating heat and warming up your food from all sides. So it's from the bottom, it's from the top and the sides, just like a regular oven, but it's circulating. So it's constant. Now, what's the goal of an air fryer? It's to actually create a crunchy, crispy exterior of a food while keeping the inside still moist. All right. So it's not actually meant to cook foods from the middle out. It is to warm the outside, keep the inside food safe, but we want to keep that food in there moist. All right. So, why would someone get an air fryer? Like, what's the appeal of using it? Well, it's kind of a cross between a regular conventional oven and like a convection oven. And it means that it's able to heat up food really fast. So if you're a person that needs their food heated up quickly, doesn't want to use a microwave, this is a great appeal to you because it's easy to cook small portions in an air fryer or smaller amounts because it's going to heat it up fast. They're usually pretty compact. And that means that they reach the temperature that you want it to cook the food really, really fast as well. So it can get hot fast. Now, what I definitely want to emphasize as a nutritionist here is that the main takeaway and the main appeal is that you don't have to use a lot of oil. So if you were thinking, well, why would I do that? I already have an oven. I already have these other tools that are in my kitchen. It's because this is actually a great alternative to frying. So if you are a deep fryer, I am a Southerner, I am a deep fryer, then this is a great, great tool. This is a great thing for you to have because you don't have to use a lot of oil to get that crispiness that you would get from deep frying something. All right, so that is the appeal. So let's talk a little bit about the air fryer itself. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, what style of air fryer do you think you want? Now, there is the basket style, which is to your left. And if you see the handle there in the middle, that is where you pull it out. And then you put your food into the tub or the basket that is there. And then you insert it back into the fryer. Now, why would we do it this way? This makes it a really, really easy to use tool. So usually the inside of the air fryer, the rack that you use can be removable and it's usually dishwasher safe. So it makes the cleaning up a little bit easier. And sometimes you can cook two at once. So we have larger capacity air fryers now that have two different baskets. So think about if you've ever seen a fast food restaurant or you have a deep fryer yourself at home, you take that wire basket, that metal basket, and you dip it down into the oil. And so just like that in the air fryer, instead of dipping it down into the oil, you are taking the basket, taking the food, and you're dipping it down into the air, and then it's going to circulate that hot air. All right. And so the basket is the most common style, but what's become a lot more popular recently is known as the oven style of air fryer. So I don't know if anyone has this, but if you can't tell what's sitting in this air fryer, it is a nice chicken. It's a whole chicken. And so this is what they also call multi-ovens. So these are essentially toaster ovens that are really, really high quality, have a lot of robust features to them. So it can fry, it can bake, it can air. So it's an air fryer mixed with a mini toaster oven. So this takes up a lot of space on a lot of counters. So they tend to be quite large and they tend to be a lot more expensive as well. So if you were looking at the types of these, this first one, the basket one, it's called a Philips Premium Digital Air Fryer. It holds about 3 quarts, and this is considered the best of the best on Amazon right now. And then the oven style one is a Ninja Foodi. So it is called a 10-in-1, and it's a pro air fryer oven. So you can air fry, you can roast. If you look at this picture, they have a chicken sitting at the bottom. Kind of reminds you of the holidays coming up because we know we're going to have a chicken in there, or if you're not a chicken fan, turkey. And it's roasting vegetables on the top. All right, so these ovens are really, really great. So those are the two types. So you've got to figure out, are you a basket style person? Are you an oven style person? And this is mostly going to go to how you cook. If you cook in smaller amounts, maybe you only cook for yourself and another person. If you're or if you're cooking more to fry foods and get that super crispiness that you would get on chicken tenders or some sort of French fry, the basket is probably the best. But if you are looking just to fat or to cook something like chicken or vegetables just a little faster, maybe just in larger portions for your family, maybe the oven is the way to go. So when we talk about types of air fryer, we've got to talk about quite a few things. So we'll get into what we can cook next with it, but I have to go ahead and let people know air fryers are not super duper cheap. All right, so they range anywhere from about $40 all the way up to $500 on average, which means there may be some that are a little bit more. So just to give you an idea, the one on the far left, the Corsi Light, it's a 2.1 quart. It's $39.99 right now. That is a $40 air fryer. So it has a lot of the basic things that you may need. Or actually, I told a tale. It's the Magic Bullet one. It's the second one. The Magic Bullet one is $40 right now. And then if you look at the middle, the silver oven style one, that is actually $500. So they range from, the price ranges are so vast. So again, what features do you want? What type of cook are you? Do you want to roast more? Do you want to bake whole chickens? Do you just want to warm up your French fries or your leftovers? You have to think about this, what type of cook you are, to figure out which type of air fryer works for you. Now, this thing is going to take up space on your counter. So if it's doing that, some of us want it to be pretty. So it needs to match the decor that we have going on in our kitchen. So sometimes you can get something like this vintage floral air fryer with an LED screen. You can get this at Bath and Body Works. So Bath and Body Works, Bed Bath and Beyond. I don't know where my mind is. Clearly, I did some Christmas shopping at Bath and Body Works, but Bed Bath and Beyond, you can get that there. And this is a nice, beautiful floral piece. It can be on your counter. So if that is something that matches, I know that my mom loves to accent with red. So think about it sitting on your counter. Is this something that's pretty for you? Do you care? Do you care more about the function? But most of these do take up quite a bit of space. You can also get a quirky looking one like this Mega Chef multi-purpose countertop one. So it's completely see-through all the way around, and you put the food in and then you put the top on it. It kind of does like a, I guess like a lid, and you can see the food cook from beginning to end, all the way clear, all the way through. And then you have some that just have the peekaboo door. So if you look at the bottom, that's an Instapot Vortex. It has a peekaboo door where you can put it in there and you can look and check and see how your food is doing while you're cooking it. So again, this is all about preferences and prices. Is it an investment? Yes. You're going to have to pay a little bit more if you want a higher quality air fryer. Now, what would higher quality mean? It means it just has more features. So if you look at the picture of this Magic Bullet one, it just kind of has a dial on it. So you can tell that it does different temperatures, but it doesn't really have any more or it doesn't have a lot of different settings other than that. Whereas if you look down at the oven, the digital ones, you can put it to bake. You can put it to dehydrate if you want to practice dehydration. If you're a person who wants to dry your own fruit, I'm a fan of that, so I highly recommend it. If you want to try air roasting, air frying, if you just want to reheat food, there's a lot of different options and settings that are preset on some of those more expensive air fryers. But the cheap ones do work at circulating the hot air and warming up the food fast. The other ones just kind of have a little bit more pizzazz because they do a few more things. But we'll just pay for that if that's something we're interested in. So the next question I get a lot of times with air fryers is, what can I cook in an air fryer? So the answer is almost anything. So if you think about a conventional oven, the one that's in your home, it can cook almost anything you can think of. There's very few things you can't cook in the conventional oven. If you decrease the portion size, that's basically what's happening in an air fryer. So you're getting the same amount of heat, you're getting the same air, you're just getting it circulating, and the goal is to make it happen faster. So you can cook almost anything. So think about if you're a vegan or vegetarian or you're looking to be more plant-based, you can cook tofu in the air fryer. Now, when we think of tofu, we think of it falling apart sometimes. If you've ever touched it, it's a little spongy, but it will definitely keep its form while it's cooking because it's being heated up, just like if you kind of dropped it into some oil. You can, of course, cook chicken. You can reheat chicken. You can also cook chicken from raw and then get it all the way cooked and crispy. So the difference in that would be time. So if you have frozen cooked chicken tenders that you bought from the store, that's not going to have the same time as it would if you seasoned your own chicken and placed it in raw and then had the air fryer cook it from beginning to end. So what you'll want to do is look at different recipes and just figure out what's a good time or a good amount of time for you to do that when it comes to the food that you have. This is going to vary depending on the air fryer that you have. So I know when I bought my air fryer, I think I got like a Ninja something. It has a peekaboo door. It told me a lot of different foods and it gave me like a little pamphlet in it and had a recommended time to cook certain foods. These times were much shorter than my previous air fryer. So my previous air fryer took about 20 to 25 minutes to do what my new air fryer could do in 14 to 17. So please read the instructions that you get from your air fryer if you're going to cook raw versus frozen. You can also make things like fresh vegetables and create them and be creative in what you can do with them. So if you take broccoli or cauliflower, or if you have Brussels sprouts, or think about any type of vegetable, a lot of times we're trying to think about different ways to cook them to make them a little bit more tasty. You can season your vegetables just like you would, and now they'll get that nice crispiness on them. So one of my favorite things to do is to throw some vegetables in the air fryer, throw a little bit of oil, just a smidgen because we don't need a lot, a little salt and pepper, and I just toss it until they are crisp, and it's like roasting done in 10 minutes. So it's really, really awesome to cook your vegetables in there. We know as the holidays are coming up, we need our vegetables. We need our sides to go along with those tasty, tasty meats and those tasty main dishes that we're going to have. You can also buy a lot of frozen foods that are air fryer ready. So there are a lot of companies that know that the air fryer is super popular and people just want to cook it that way. And you'll notice that on a lot of packaging, there are now air fry instructions where there used to just be microwave or oven. Now there's sometimes air fry instructions. So that just lets you know how popular this is getting fast. And air fryers have been around for about 10 years, but they've gotten really popular in like the last 5 years. You can actually pop popcorn in an air fryer. So if you take these popcorn kernels, and again, you want to follow some instructions because you want to think about that heat, you can actually pop popcorn and buy the popcorn seeds yourself. Now, what's the benefit of this? One, it's much cheaper to buy all of the popcorn seeds that you're going to use to pop your own popcorn rather than buy it prepackaged and in those bags, all right? But it also, you can flavor it yourself, and they tend to be a lot healthier for you because they don't have a lot of oil and butter because they're already in the kernels, all right? So you want to pop your kernels and you want to season them and have whatever type of popcorn you want, but don't feel bad if you forgot or you don't have any of the packages left, if none of your pop secret is still there. You just buy some of these kernels and you throw them in the air fryer and you can have some popcorn. So great for snacks. A lot of people get a little leery about putting fish in the air fryer. Is it going to cook it well? Is it going to cook it all the way through? Fish is actually one of the easier protein sources for us to cook once heat hits it. It doesn't need as long as a lot of other meats that we may cook. So if you are looking to incorporate more fish into your diet, which it is recommended that we get fish at least twice a week to maintain a healthy diet, you can cut it up there and throw it in the air fryer. So this is salmon. You can season your own salmon, throw it in. It can get the skin nice and crispy if you're a crispy fan when it comes to salmon. I like the skin on salmon. A lot of people tell me no, but you can also put shrimp in there. You could put scallops in there. So if you don't know what to do with seafood, or you've got some seafood that you think is going to go bad and you don't have a lot of time to cook it and think about it, all you have to do is season it a little bit, little salt and pepper, a little bit of oil, throw it in the air fryer. It'll be ready before you know it. Now, to the right here, I know that a lot of people know we can cook chicken tenders, and French fries with air fryers. But there are actually surprising things that you may not know that you can make with an air fryer, like cinnamon buns. There are a lot of pastries you can make, croissants. You can actually bake in an air fryer. I don't know if you knew that. There's settings on some of the higher end ones that actually have a bake setting. And so what would that mean? If you're like, what's it going to do in the air fryer? It actually lowers the temperature to a really, really, I think it's about 170 degrees or closer to 200 rather than those high temperatures, to allow breads and to allow those pastries to rise. And so please feel free to look up so many great recipes and dessert recipes, especially as the holidays are coming up, that you can put into the air fryer, because it's going to reduce some of that fat. We won't need as much oil, and it may bake it in no time. You can make whole pizzas in an air fryer. Now, granted, the size of a pizza makes it so that you're like, I can't have a full size portion or a portion that's good for me in an air fryer, because a lot of them are small in diameter. So this would be a job for the oven type air fryer. If you're an oven person, you can put in a pizza and get that nice crispy crust. For the rest of us, we may be able to reheat pizza in our basket style. So cutting it up into a slice and putting it there and getting a nice crispness to the crust, as well as melting the cheese. You can make a grilled cheese in the air fryer. And so again, instructions, and you can boil eggs in an air fryer. So think about all of these different things. We hear fry from the air fryer and we're like, it must be only foods that you would normally fry. And that is in fact true. Those are the main dishes that we use. But you can boil your egg, you can cook a pizza in there, you can roast your nuts or chickpeas in there. That's what's in the top right corner, some roasted chickpeas. You can make a grilled cheese, you can do a vegetable medley. So it does a little bit of everything. All right. Now, when you see all of these foods, I don't want anyone to go say that the nutritionist told me to go home and cook cinnamon buns, because I did not say that. But the holidays are coming up, so if cinnamon buns are your contribution, you go for it. But just know that the air fryer is not a free pass for you to eat unlimited amounts of foods. It's not like, well, because I'm not deep frying it, it must be healthy. That is not the case. So let's get into that just a little bit. What's the next question I get after how or what can I cook in it is it actually healthy? So a lot of nutritionists and dietitians feel a little bit differently about this, but take it from a person from the South where we have a lot of deep fried foods. It is definitely healthier than deep frying your food. Unequivocally much healthier. All right, because air frying is significantly decreasing the amount of oil that is absorbed into the food. So if you think about dropping your chicken or your French fries into boiling oil, that oil is being absorbed into your potato or into your chicken or the skin of your chicken. All right, it's being absorbed and then you eat it and consume it. But when you're not dipping it in that oil, you are reducing the amount that's actually absorbed into the food. Therefore, you're not eating as much fat that you would be eating if you deep fried it. This can lead to you not having as many calories that you're taking in. So if you think about chicken, even a chicken breast or even a chicken thigh with the skin on it, if you put it in an air fryer and you just let the heat crisp the skin rather than drenching it in oil, you're reducing how much oil you're taking in. So it can cut your calories by up to 75% when you think about the fact that you don't have to add but maybe about 15 milliliters of oil. When you're deep frying, you usually have to add about 750 milliliters of oil, which is about 3 cups. So the air fryer requires 15 milliliters, which is about a tablespoon, just to keep it going. But deep frying requires 3 cups. So you have a tablespoon and 3 cups. That's like so many times over, right? It's about 50 times the amount that you need for an air fryer. So because of that, yes, it is healthier than deep frying. All right. Now, you still have to pay attention to the types of food that you're cooking. If you're a person with diabetes and you're only cooking potatoes in your air fryer, you still have to watch your carbohydrate intake. All right. You still want to pick foods that are nutrient dense. Pick foods like vegetables. You can roast them in here. You can dehydrate fruits. If you have a fruit that's going bad and you like fruit chips or things like that, you can make those. You can thinly slice them and put them in the air fryer. Some of them have a dehydrate button or setting that you can use. You can cook your whole grains in here. You can rewarm your leftovers that include potatoes and breads. You can cook fatty fishes. You can cook lean meats in here. One of my favorite recipes that I haven't tried, but I'm going to try this year, is you could do a pork roast in the air fryer. So I'm going to season a pork roast and I'm going to try it in my air fryer for my friends, or not Friendsgiving, my Christmas party that I'm going to with my friends. So I will let you all know how that goes. And overall, a lot of people ask about, does it lose nutrients? So you're cooking it and it's getting heated up really fast. So is it taking away nutrients from the food? And essentially what the research shows so far is that it doesn't. The air fryer is keeping the surface of the food that it's cooking very dry. So it's having this air circulate around. And because it's keeping it dry, it's not losing a lot of its moisture. Therefore, it's not losing a lot of its nutrients. That is what most of the research says. So it's about equivalent to a conventional oven that you have in your kitchen as far as nutrient loss. Now, anytime we heat up food, we know that it loses a little bit of its nutrients. So the question or the concern would be that the air fryer heats food up so fast, so it's got to be losing nutrients really fast too. And again, we don't really think that, we don't know that, we need more research on it. But what we're thinking about is it probably doesn't. Minimal oil, and again, it's being heated, but it's being heated evenly as well. So if that was a concern that you had, right now, the nutrition community stands on it's not losing a lot of nutrients by being in the air fryer. So health benefits. Now, I don't know that we normally talk about an air fryer in terms of health benefits, but I definitely want to do that because this is about holiday healthy eating strategies. So overall, we know that Americans are getting too much fat, especially saturated fat in their diet. One of the first things I tell a lot of my customers is stop eating fried foods. Fried foods are a source of a lot of calories and a lot of oil, as we discussed before. So when you're drastically reducing the saturated fats and the oils that you have to use to cook these foods, you're still getting that crisp flavor that you like about your fried foods, but with like 50 times less the oil, you are definitely getting a health benefit from that. Your heart and your blood vessels thank you so much for reducing that saturated fat. Also, when we talk about foods, we talk about heating them up in fried foods, having a lot of inflammatory compounds. So, if you're talking about inflammation, inflammation is something that happens in a lot of chronic disease, like high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity. There's a lot of underlying inflammation on a cellular level. This can lead to all of these health effects that you see here on this diagram. It can increase your risk for cardiovascular disease. It can lead to injury. It has actually been shown to promote Alzheimer's. It can increase your stress and or make stress worse. It's a lot of things. It can actually increase your risk of developing certain cancers. So we know that by reducing the amount of oil and also air frying it, where we're not getting all that oil and we're not losing a lot of that nutrient there, we are decreasing the amount of inflammatory compounds that we would normally get from deep frying our foods. So by decreasing that, we're decreasing our inflammation and therefore reducing some of our risk for Alzheimer's, for obesity, for diabetes, and we're keeping a healthier diet. And the last thing is that when you cook potatoes, a lot of times when you're heating them up, you are kind of activating the starch in there. Like the starch starts to break down and then we eat it. And then a lot of times that can lead to a higher blood sugar after eating the compound. So it's because it becomes more like a broken down sugar rather than a starch. So, because you are cooking less of your potato or your starches, it may also have a slightly lower impact on your blood sugar. So, deep frying a sweet potato versus air frying a sweet potato, you are keeping some of the nutrients in there without the fat. So, it probably is going to impact your blood sugar just a little bit less. So overall, know that if you're a person who eats fried foods and you switch to using your air fryer, you may be decreasing your risk for cardiovascular disease and other chronic diseases. All right, so to get to the nitty gritty, cooking tips that you need to know for your air fryer. So the first thing is to preheat your air fryer. So don't put your food in the basket first or in the oven first and then turn it on. You want to turn it on to whatever you're going to do. If you're going to do reheat, if you're going to do bake, if you're going to do broil, whatever you're doing, preheat your air fryer like you do your conventional oven. You also don't want to fill the basket all the way up. So if you're using the basket, and of course the oven has more of a tray, so you don't want to fill the basket all the way up just because it feels deep. You want your food to be able to cook more evenly all over. It will do that best if you don't go past the half capacity mark of your basket, especially if you're cooking something like meat. You want meat to stay on a single layer so that it can get the bottom air circulation. So you don't want to pile up your meat. So make sure that you're not filling up your basket too much when you're trying to cook or piling things on top of one another too much. There's a couple layers, like here, if you look at these Brussels sprouts, clearly all of them are not touching the bottom. Which leads me to when you do fill it up, if you're about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way, remember you have to shake it as it's cooking. If you just leave it there, that means all the things that are on the bottom are going to stay on the bottom. They are not going to get as much of the circulation, so it's going to cook a little unevenly. So it is designed as a basket for you to take it off of the heat, shake it, and put it back so that it will cook evenly. So be sure that you are definitely doing this. And for those things that you are cooking, open the basket and check and make sure it's cooking the way you want. One of the things that air fryers can do is cook things really fast, and we have to get used to the time difference. If I wanted to roast vegetables right now and I put them on a pan and put them in my oven, I know I have at least 10 to 15 minutes before I even need to check on them. But with the air fryer, in about 10 to 15 minutes, they could be completely burned and smoking. So you have to get used to the time. So open the basket and check it. It is made to cook a little faster. When you are cooking, you want to add some oil about halfway through. This will give you your best product on the end. Now, just because it's reducing our fats doesn't mean it's completely eliminating fats. When foods are heated up, we need a little bit of oil to get it going and to help that, emulsify and a lot of different things. So, add a little bit of oil halfway through. You're not supposed to drench the oil on there. If you're using a lot of oil on it, you're defeating the purpose of air frying it. It's going to let that heat do all of its work. It just needs a little oil to promote some of these processes that happen. So add a little bit in the beginning and then add a little bit halfway through. Don't make the mistake of putting wax paper down, all right? Air fryers, that high heat, don't use wax paper, but you can definitely use aluminum foil just like you would in the conventional oven. Now, the heat in the air fryer is it's a small area. It's high heat and it's circulating, so wax paper can't really handle the intensity of the heat in such a small area, but aluminum foil can. So use aluminum foil. If you want to line the bottom with aluminum foil, you definitely can do that. Remember, just like in the oven, that can affect how cooked it is. So I like my Brussels sprouts a little browned like these in the picture. And so if I put aluminum foil there, they may not brown as much. So know how you're trying to cook it, but you can use it, but definitely no wax paper. Move it away from the wall so that it can like melt the wall is what I tell people, but it really doesn't. You just don't want to put that much heat. There's a lot of heat coming off of your air fryer so that it is circulating the high heat within it. It also has to cool itself off. So make sure that you're not pushing it back against the wall when you're cooking it. Move it up away from the wall while it's cooking, and make sure it's also in a space that's around heat resistant things. So don't put it around a lot of plastic that can melt. You want to just have it on your counter away from the wall. Cook it as you need. And last but not least, which I'm going to do with this this pork roast that I'm going to do, you still need to use a meat thermometer. If you're cooking meat in the air fryer, we know that there are certain temperatures that make sure that our meat is cooked all the way through. And as I said earlier, a lot of times its goal is to crisp it up on the outside and leave it moist on the inside. So it's cooking really fast and it's cooking evenly, but you always want to check that the middle got done. All right. So when you're cooking meat, especially your porks and your beefs, you want to make sure that you're using that meat thermometer in the middle for something like a pork roast. Now, if you're doing chicken tenders and they're small, you don't necessarily always have to use that. But for those larger meats or larger pieces of meat that you can, in fact, use, definitely use that thermometer. So we definitely want to find really, really fun recipes that we can use in this air fryer. A lot of people feel limited. They're like, I eat these things. I just want to heat it up. I don't really know what to do. I need to bring something to Christmas and I want it to be something different. Different things are happening. I definitely say go to giantfood.com/savory. Savory Magazine has so many great recipes. So these 5 that I'm sharing with you, it literally took me 2 minutes. I went on to Savory and I typed in air fryer. And so if you notice, air fryer or air fried is in the title of each one of these. So who would have thunk to do air fryer glazed beets? I know that I did it. When I saw this recipe and I saw how beautiful it was for like the fall, it's got the red in it, it's got other things. I was like, this is a perfect recipe that probably nobody else would try. And because I heard glazed in it, I'm pretty sure they're going to be absolutely delicious. As I said, I love Brussels sprouts, and when I cook them somewhere else, it's really easy if I'm just roasting them to put a little oil, a little salt and pepper. But this is actually air fryer, and it's got bacon in it. And we all know bacon makes everything better. Bacon makes everything better. So we don't want to eat a lot of bacon. We know it's high in fat, but boy, does it give a lot of great flavor. And put in that air fryer with that crispiness that'll come from it, a lot of that oil will come off and it'll be great. You can even make crab cakes in the air fryer. So for all my Maryland people, yes, you can make crab cakes in your air fryer. So look for these recipes. I love chicken. I would never think to do this with beets. And then I thought that the barbecue chicken stuffed sweet potatoes just sounded like something I could take to a party. Just sweet potato, barbecue chicken stuffed in there. Never had it before, but it sounds amazing. So look and Savory, put in air fryer and see if there's something you want to try. This would be really great to test out your air fryer too. If you have a new one or if you have an old one that you haven't used in a while, or if you're thinking about getting one for a person for Christmas or the holidays, then definitely feel free to test it out or test out the ideas of this. Is the person that you're thinking of buying this for, do they have a large family? Do they like a lot of meats? Do they need, are they just an individual person? So they just want to cook small portions. Do you think the basket would be helpful for them? Do you think recipes on how to use it would be helpful? Everything I've ever done in the air fryer has taken me less than 20 minutes. All right. Except for dehydrating, and I haven't actually used it for dehydration. All right. So why do we love air fryers? It's versatile. You can get restaurant quality food. It's great for reheating leftovers. You get minimal mess from it. It's extremely fast. All right. It's extremely fast. It's energy efficient and it's great for kids, especially if you're like my niece and nephew. They always want chicken nuggets and they want them right now. And they take a little while. So throwing them in the air fryer makes it super easy. Smaller air fryers use a lot less energy than your conventional oven. So it's actually energy efficient in that way because it only uses about 1,000 to 1,200 watts. Whereas when you heat up your oven, it takes about 2,000 to 2,500 watts to power that. So it can be energy efficient for those small portions. Now, why do some people say no? I don't really know, but I will tell you that it does take up counter space. So if you're weird about counter space, we understand it is a thing. It can only serve small to medium quantities. So if you have, again, a very large family and you're cooking for them, it may not feel like you can cook it fast enough. I might feel like I might as well just put it in the oven because I have to cook too many batches in order for the fast or the quick ability of the air fryer to benefit me. You are at a higher risk for burning foods, but that's something you can learn to do. You can just learn to put it in there and not leave and go sit down. Put a timer on there. But yes, foods can burn a lot easier because it cooks a lot faster. People feel that they cook really well. They feel like they're their own personal chef. And a lot of times they feel like air fryers are not necessary. They don't need that quick fix. They feel like they want to cook from scratch and bake everything. And they like the slow burn of the conventional oven. And that is okay. And so that's sometimes why they say no to air fryers. But does it have a negative health benefit? Does it do any of this? No, it's actually a really, really great alternative to deep frying. And if you are team conventional oven, that's okay, but I am team air fryer over here. And that is it. So thank you all. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
Hi, I know you said not to use wax paper, but Amazon sells a what's that parchment paper that fits into the air fryers. Is that safe to use?
So if it says air fryer on it, yes. If it's specially designed for air fryers, I would do it. Parchment paper by itself, I would go with no. I've never tried it just out of fear. But again, it's safe to use in the oven, so it could be okay in the air fryer. But remember that heat's a lot more intense. So I would just go with aluminum foil or the paper that is made specifically for air fryers. I wouldn't try it unless you know for sure. And I definitely wouldn't try it for something for a long time. So if you're going to cook something like raw, and you need to cook it for 15 to 20 minutes, I probably wouldn't try it.
Okay, I have one more question. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. When you cooking like maybe chicken breast or thigh or something, are you supposed to turn it over?
Yes. So again, when you're in the air fryer, it's circulating the heat, but the way that it's sitting, everything on the top is just getting heat like this, right? So you think about a basket. But if you think about deep frying, you dip it into the oil. So if it's not touching the oil, you know for sure it's not getting cooked. Well, in the air fryer, if you're dipping it in the air at the bottom, it's not getting a lot of heat at the top. It's getting more than it would in an oven, but not enough to cook it as much as it would. So I would flip it halfway through, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few things in the chat. The first one is more of a statement. Maybe you have some tips for it. Someone said they can't get their crab cakes to brown. I don't know if you have any tips for that.
Crab cakes to brown in the air fryer. So, are you heating your air fryer or preheating your air fryer would be my first thing. So, put the air fryer on the temperature and then let it get hot and then put your crab cakes in there. And then you can add a little bit more oil to your crab cake as well. So if you put a little, instead of putting it on the pan or on the rack, put a little bit more on the side of the crab cake that you're putting down, let it cook, and then put a little bit more oil on the side that's up and then flip it. So preheat, put a little bit more oil on each side and flip it.
Awesome. Marin asks, what types of oil do you recommend to use in the air fryer?
So you can use basically any oil that you want because the air fryer is there to reduce the amount that you need to use. We, as a nutritionist, I would just like recommend you still don't want to go really ham on the butter or go ham. You don't want to use a lot of butter. You don't want to use a lot of saturated fats like lard if you don't have to, because the more you put in, the more you're defeating the purpose of air frying, and you should just go deep fry it. But you can use any oil that you would like. I wouldn't use any with a low smoke temperature. So if you're getting those liquid, like olive oil is fine. A lot of people hear that olive oil is not fine, but remember that it is a shorter cooking time. You can use vegetable oil if you want. Nothing should be soaked. So I just want to like clarify that if you're used to cooking it's something and like putting a lot of oil on it, you don't want to necessarily do that. You just want to put enough on the rack or enough on it so that it's browning. And if you notice that it's not browning as much as you want, then you can put a little bit more on there. A lot of times it will burn without oil, right? So oil a lot of times will prevent it or it will help it get brown. But in the air fryer, it doesn't quite follow all those rules. So you want to put a little bit more oil on it. You can use butter, you can use vegetable oil, you can use canola oil, you can use olive oil, just no fancy oils with a really, really low smoke temperature.
Awesome. And next question was, is there any time that you don't need to preheat?
I would say no, as far as for better quality. So preheating is not a requirement for it to work. So, but I know that preheating, a lot of people, that means you have to get tongs and you have to dip it in there. You have to be pretty safe, especially in the basket. There's no, like you can put frozen veggies in and then turn it on. You can put whatever you want to put in there and then turn it on. That's recommended for optimal use and optimal quality is to have it preheat. If you are doing meat, I highly recommend preheating it. Just like you wouldn't put meat on a cold pan that's on the stove, I would not put meat on a cold air fryer. And of course, pre-cooked frozen things are the exception. So if you have chicken tenders that are pre-cooked and they're frozen and you're just heating them up, you can kind of do whatever you want in the air fryer. But any type of if you're cooking salmon, shrimp, or if you're cooking beef, or if you're going to do a pork roast like me, like you definitely want to preheat the meats.
Next question was, are cooking sprays okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would definitely use cooking spray. What you'll have to get used to is that you don't need a lot of it. So that's what you have to get used to. Test it out a few times. You're gonna it's a difference in flavor, and it's a difference in the density sometimes of the foods that we eat when we do it in the air fryer, but it should still be very crisp and very moist. So we're used to putting a lot of oil so that we get that crispiness, and we usually do it in flour and egg, and then we fry it, or so you don't have to do that. That's the thing of getting used to. So just a little bit of oil. So one of the best ways to get just a little bit of oil is to use a cooking spray. Highly recommend it.
And the next one, I think it's a two-part question. So it says, tell a step-by-step example of how to fry chicken parts, settings, and time. And would you put flour on scallops or chicken to fry them in the air fryer?
Right. So when you're frying chicken parts, remember what's doing the frying is the heat, not the oil. So step by step would be, if I had a chicken thigh or a chicken breast, I would season it like I normally would. A little salt, a little pepper. I'm partial to onion powder and garlic powder. If you have some sort of sauce you want to put on it, if you want to do that, you can either wait till the end or just kind of put a little bit on each side. It's just going to cook. The heat is going to cook it, and it's going to make it crispy, or it's going to grill it for you or fry it for you for the most part. When we say fry in an air fryer, it's not going to completely, if you put like a raw salmon in there, it's not going to magically coat and fry your salmon, right? So yes, you can put a little bit of flour on each side if you need to. I don't recommend it because it's delicious when you don't, and we want to take away some of the flour and some of the fat there. So if you were doing it in a pan, like I said, you would do egg, flour, or some combination, or some people just do flour. You don't need to do any of that for real. You just need to put it in the air fryer and kind of see what happens and see how you like it, or just do one coat to start it off and then see how you like it, but make sure that pan is hot, or make sure it's preheated. So do one coat of egg, one coat of flour, put it in there, let it fry, and see how you like it. But I don't think you need it. That is my recommendation. It will fry. Chicken wings are amazing in an air fryer, especially. So you can try it both ways. It will cook. It's just one that sounds a little messy for us to do the all the frying stuff, but definitely try it both ways. All right, but you will need some sort of coat for it to be fried. So I don't want you to think that I'm saying if you want it to have a fried resemblance like a breading, you do have to put a breading on it, but using the air fryer to get crisp, it'll crisp the skin. So you don't necessarily need that. It just will be a different version of fried chicken per se. And I would not put flour on scallops, not in the air fryer, not personally. I would just use the air fryer to cook the scallops. It's going to cook really, really fast. Again, if you definitely want that breading on there, you can go for it. And it can still reduce the oil, but in the air fryer, I would just let it cook it and see if you like the texture with just the seasoning, and see how you like that. And then cornstarch. Yep. Sometimes it's not as crispy as people want it to be because you're used to super duper fried chicken with the crunchies on it. And if you're a crispy, crunchy fried chicken or fried food lover, getting adjusted to the air fryer, crisping it, but not to that extent, can be a little bit more challenging. So yeah, if you want to add a little cornstarch, you want to add a little egg and breadcrumbs, you're more than welcome to still do it. Just know that the whole goal of air frying in the fryer is to eliminate some of that extra oil, that oil dipping, that deep frying. But you definitely can still put a little flour, a little bread on there. Oh yeah, absolutely. Smells are a big thing. I should have put that on there as a pro. When you cook things in the air fryer, it does seem to kind of stay condensed in that air fryer and it doesn't like make the whole house smell like whatever it is that you're cooking or frying. That is a really, really good point. The odor goes away. It's pretty concentrated to where the air fryer was. And again, this is really great for people who cook 1 to 2 portions of something, anything. Like, it's great. You don't have to feel obligated to waste all of the oil and do a lot of things. My favorite use for it actually is leftovers. So microwaves don't do leftovers justice. And a lot of people, if you're old school, like my mom, my friends, one of my friends does not use a microwave at all. She puts everything in the oven. She doesn't believe in rewarming in the microwave. The air fryer is a great substitute for the microwave, that even people who just like to reheat in the oven love to reheat in the air fryer. All right. So I definitely recommend that. Heating leftovers, if you want to put them in some aluminum foil, if they just need heat, if you want to crisp them up. I don't believe in cold French fries, but I don't believe in microwave French fries either. So air fryers have saved plenty of French fry in my life. It crisps them right back up. It's really, really great. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits. There's really no cons to using the air fryer. It's just more of, is this something you want to invest in? Learning how to use it takes a little bit of time because you're getting used to the new texture. You're getting used to, it has a lot less oil on it, but it has its own delicious crispness. It's really, really good. And so learning the recipes that you like, the foods you can put in there, it just cooks fast and it cooks really great. And I am a huge user and fan of an air fryer. We have any more questions? Yes. Yes. So one of those recipes that was on this, and again, like I said, go to giantfood.com/savory. And when you go to Savory, just type in air fryer. It was the barbecue chicken stuffed sweet potatoes that you can make in the air fryer. So I haven't done it, but I'm excited. Like, you can make sweet potatoes. It makes it nice and crispy. It gets it really moist on the inside. So absolutely go for it. Yep. All righty. Well, thank you all for your time and attentiveness. I hope that this was helpful, help your heart. If you are a fried food loving girl like I am, I hope that you have been inspired to use your air fryer and get some of those alternatives. One of the things we do during the holidays is we put a lot of fat in a lot of things. We know those desserts are going to have fat, it's going to have butter, it's going to have a lot. So when you can use your air fryer this holiday season, use it. If you want to bake, if you want to make the vegetables, the green beans, the Brussels, or I always say Brussels sprouts, they're my favorite. But if you want to throw those in there, just make the side. If you want to try a baking dish there, try a baking dish, but use it so that we can get some of this fat out without compromising flavor. And that's what the air fryer helps you do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elena.
Of course.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Before we leave, I have a few quick announcements. So you're going to receive an email with a link to complete an evaluation survey on tonight's session. Get the survey within 24 hours to be entered into a drawing for a health and wellness gift bag. Your answers are valuable and will help us improve our programs. Please also join us for our next virtual session, which is on pan-seared salmon and sweet potato and Brussels medley. It's a cooking demonstration that will occur on Wednesday, December 20th from 6 to 7 p.m. Also visit the health and wellness page on the pgparks.com website to see all of our upcoming events and programs. Thank you again, everyone, and have a great rest of your evening. Bye.